Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Asavri Khawan, and it's my utmost honor to welcome you to the digital forum on the science behind world's first Omicron-specific COVID detection test, Tata MD Omishore, hosted by Voice of Healthcare in association with Tata Medical and Diagnostics. So, before we begin the session, I would like to welcome distinguished attendees who include microbiologists, virologists, epidemiologists, representatives of diagnostic labs, and other guests from various spheres of the Indian Diagnostic Center. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time and joining us. Please feel free to put down your queries and comments in the question answer box. We will answer queries during the course of discussion. Without further ado, I would like to start the session 1, which is on current practices of variant identification and their limitation in a wave-like situation by inviting our eminent speakers. I'd like to invite Dr. V. Ravi, who is a renowned virologist, who is also the head of research and development of Tata MD. We welcome you, sir. I'd like to invite Dr. Jayanti Shastri, who is the chair of Department of Microbiology at TNMC and BLY Nair Hospital. She is also the lab director for Molecular Diagnostics Reference Lab at Kasturba Hospital. We welcome you, ma'am. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Ravi Gaur. He is the founder of Dr. G Path Labs and principal advisor for Spice Health, which is a SpiceJet Airlines venture. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
I'd also like to invite Dr. Bharti Manotra. She is Senior Professor of Microbiology at SMS College, Jaipur. She is also the Dean of Rajasthan University of Health Sciences. We welcome you, ma'am. Let's begin with the first session. Now over to you, Dr. Ravi.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining this event that is dedicated, I must say, if at all, to anything but the Omicron virus. So, as you all know, SARS-CoV-2 has never ceased to surprise us from the time it emerged late 2019. At least people like me, it has made a fool of myself because I thought everything is getting over, and there comes the surprise. It pulls out a new trick from the bag. So this afternoon, we are discussing in this panel discussion the current approaches to variant identification and their limitations in a wave-like situation. I have a very distinguished panel of experienced microbiologists, Dr. Jayanti Shastri, Dr. Bharti Malhotra, and Dr. Ravi Gaur. 1 minute to tell you that this panel is organized in a way that a set of questions, one question each will be posed to each of the panelists. They will give a detailed response. If there's anything other panelists would like to add, it's fine. Then we'll move on to the second and the third panelists. My request to all participants is if you want to ask any question to the panelists, please put it in the chat box and we will take it up. We will have this session for approximately 20-25 minutes, 15 minutes of panel discussion, 5 to 10 minutes of questions. I'll start with the first question to my dear friend, Professor Bharti Malhotra. And I would like to ask you, Dr. Bharti, these variants have been emerging since the beginning of 2020. How does one identify emerging variants? Over to you, Dr. Bharti.
Thank you for the invitation, Dr. Ravi, and congratulations once again for your making the great kid. So to identify the variants in this pandemic-like situation, what we have been doing till now has been sequencing whatever the new isolate comes along. And of course, there are many various sequencing platforms for that. And we are using Iron Torrent S5 platform, which takes us 5 to 6 days. But now there are other methods like which you can be used as a proxy method for telling you the variant. For example, for this Omicron, everybody was looking at the target failure, the S gene target failure as the proxy method. So these are that is another quicker method in the pandemic situation. And of course, the new kit which has come out is the Omicron Omishore kit you have come out in this pandemic like situation where you really want the results very fast. The sequencing, whatever the platform it may be, most of the platform takes 5 to 7 days to give the result. Of course, Genexus platform by the Ion Torrent gives results within 24 hours. Nanopore can also give results within 24 hours, but it has its own limitations. But what many PCR-based methods can give us very fast results, particularly useful in pandemic-like situation, where everybody is really keen to know and they are pestering us to tell us whether they have Omicron or Delta, and that is what is the need of the day. And I think the Omishore is really answers that need of the day.
Thank you, Dr. Bharati, for telling us that over the last 2 years, variants have been initially identified by sequencing. That's a very nice point underscored by Dr. Bharati. And she also told you the various platforms that are available and the turnaround times it takes. That automatically takes us to the second question in the panel, which is on the mind of everybody. And this I'm posing to Dr. Jayanti Shastri. Dr. Shastri, what is the value of sequencing in variant detection, number one? And how does one detect Omicron by sequencing, including the sub-lineages which people are talking about now? If you can throw some light on this important tool, which Bharati emphasized very well, that is the key to identify new variants. Over to you, Dr. Shastri.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi, first for this invitation and for asking me this very important question. Now, the most important thing which I would like to open with is that sequencing is not a diagnostic test. So sequencing, as the question itself it is for something beyond diagnosis. So what we do is we diagnose it by a PCR test, which is used, RT-PCR is used for SARS-CoV-2 diagnosis. We do have screening tests like S-gene target failure, which we are using in our lab, but that is again a screening test. Now, what is sequencing? Sequencing just tells you, as we all know, that SARS-CoV-2 has number of genes. It has got the N gene, the membrane gene, the ORF, that is open reading frame, the S gene. Now, how different is the evolving virus as against the known viruses or the known variants? Now, we have seen the evolution of the virus over these last 2 years. In 2020, we had the Wuhan strain. And later, early January 2021, we had the Alpha, the Beta, Gamma. Then in April 2021, we were all under the grip of the Delta. So which gene is affected? How many mutations are there? Are there any deletions? Are there any additions of amino acids? Is what is detected in sequencing. Now, like Dr. Bharati told you, there are a number of platforms. They have got the Ion Torrent. Some people are using Nanopore sequencing. In our lab, we have the Illumina High Throughput NextSeq 2000 sequencing, where we can do 376 samples at a given time. Now, coming to Omicron. With Omicron, what happened was we started sequencing all the international travelers. Since we have a high throughput machine, we were sending it to NIV because we needed, the turnaround time was 72 hours. The important thing to understand in sequencing is that you cannot just send a sample and expect a report tomorrow. It's a process and it takes about a week's time. And why is it important to know whether it's an immune escape variant or not for a clinician? Because they are very concerned about giving monoclonal antibodies, and that is why they want to know whether it's an immune escape variant. So yes, with Omicron, what we did was we collected RT-PCR samples from the city of Mumbai, from 24 wards. And the positive samples, the ones which are of a CT value of 30 and below. That is again very important in sequencing. Number one, it's not a diagnostic test. Number two, you cannot sequence anything which is beyond 30 CT. The quality of the RNA has to be very good, and that's when the output is very good. So sequencing is, of course, an excellent tool in understanding the evolving variants and how they are similar or dissimilar to the existing variants.
Thank you, Dr. Shastri, for very lucidly explaining the value of sequencing. More importantly, the shortcomings or the disadvantages. That A, it is not a diagnostic test. B, you need samples meeting a certain criteria like good quality RNA and lower CT values less than 30. And also telling us that it takes minimum of 5 to 7 days. Just to add to what Dr. Shastri said, actual technique of sequencing, it can be completed in not more than 12 hours max, depending on which platform you're using. But the amount of data it generates is humongous. And that has to go through what is known as a pipeline. And in the pipeline, it is processed, and then using a software, it calls the sequence based belonging to one particular lineage or not. The most widely used software for that is the Pangolin software, which also gets updated periodically in terms of versions. And this updating is required because once a variant of concern emerges, that also keeps evolving. Like Dr. Shastri said, there are sublineages of Omicron now, which are called BA1, BA2, BA3, and so on. Thanks for that very nice explanation, Dr. Shastri. I'll move on to the next question burning in everybody's mind. You heard Dr. Shastri say that, sequencing is a very, very resource-intense, time-consuming exercise. Obviously, it cannot be done by everybody. You need expertise and facilities. So, Dr. Gaur, the question to you is, are there alternatives to gene sequencing for direct identification of any variant? And today, since we're talking about Omicron, are there any alternatives to identifying Omicron? And if so, how reliable are they? Over to you, Dr. Gaur.
I think good afternoon, Dr. Ravi, and the various the audience which are there right on the Voice of Healthcare platform. I think this is a very, very relevant topic we are talking about, especially when we have we talk about variant of concern. So we are, that's something with the Omicron. I think we are now concerned about the variants. I think that's very, very important thing. We're we are getting concerned, and that's one thing is really this kind of Omicron has taught us. Let us think of various variants and let's be concerned about it. And where we work out some technology and how do we address the situation in the this pandemic wave-like situation. It's not a research tool. It's not like a small hotspot study. It's not a location study. There you can do research, you can develop protocol. But I think if you look at, you asked a question to me was like alternate to gene sequencing. I think if you look at one end, probably as of now, there's no foolproof alternate to gene sequencing. Because once you do a sequencing, you really have to have multiple lineages, various kind of mutations happen, deletion, as in multiple things are there. But it's again, as Dr. Bharti has mentioned, it's highly time consuming, it's expensive, it's skill based, it takes analysis and many, many things. It's like it's a resource kind of a thing. But probably maybe other technologies what we have is like ARMS PCR. Probably that's one technology we can use. We have specific, kits for specific mutations. We can probably pick it out. But then it's the right kind of a question you have to ask so that get a right answer. And that's something what we need to do probably by doing a PCR or some other thing. But I will definitely like to congratulate Ravi and I think the coming out with the the new Omi show. That's something which is I'll mention right here. This is the probably now alternate to gene sequencing when it comes to Omicron. And the way it has been, I think, coming out, it almost like as good as 100% kind of a thing, understanding the signatures of Omicron, probably that's going to be the answer when we move forward. There'll be, I think, many more variants. Can we identify the many more variants and going forward? Because another question which probably can come in everybody's mind: why do we really want to know the various variants? I think that's in everybody's mind. But yes, I think the answer to my mind, because we have done almost like in my spice health and other background, almost like 50 to 60 lakhs RT-PCR for COVID. And now people are asking and coming back, is it Omicron? Can you help us out? Can you talk about S gene? Can you just know some indications of it? I think, why do you want to know about it? But I think as we grow the treatment protocols and the various kind of the quarantine procedures, medical procedures, various isolation, epidemiological study, defining hotspots, and of course, vaccine research. I think what is very, very important to know the various variants. And probably going forward, it will become like, okay, somebody will go COVID. Okay, you have a COVID positive, but which variant? Accordingly, you have a 7 days quarantine or a 10 days quarantine or 15 days quarantine, identify the various people surrounding you or not. Should we do a asymptomatic people screening? I think that's going to be the answer to it. And definitely no answer to the alternative gene sequencing, but we definitely require smaller versions like what Omishore has come out. I think those testings will help out faster, rapid. At least we know today somebody is very concerned about, like, okay, I have COVID, okay, but I have Omishore. I'm very sure about it. And not like, or that's something will give you a small reassurance to us. Oh, it's going to go out, get away in 5 days, and 7 days I'll be back up wherever I'm. I think this is something which we look forward to, and I think and the biggest or the reliability part, I think whatever we study, I think you have done a bigger study and all trials, but whatever we heard, it's a very, very 100% reliable. So we all look forward for this alternate technology. And I think going forward, I'm sure we expect many more variants to be identified, like culture and susceptibility kind of a thing in the future. You identify a bacteria, substrains and subcultures, and you find out this is the variant. You require 2 days, you require 5 days. You can't you can't travel to Africa, you can't talk to US, you can go to Dubai, is fine. I think that's where I was looking forward to.
Thank you, Dr. Gaur, for bringing out all the aspects related to why should you or why you should not do testing for Omishore. You very nicely summarized it, saying that the utility is first and foremost a relief to the patient that he is infected with a variant that is less likely to cause. And secondly, you also said that it may help in deciding certain expensive treatments. We all know that antibody cocktails are not likely to be very effective in Omishore. These are two definite situations where Omicron testing in a rapid way is helpful. Now, that completes the round of questions. I would like to ask each of the panelists if they will have any quick comment, 1 minute duration, before we go to what are the questions that came from the floor. Dr. Bharti, anything you want to add to whatever has been said?
Just want to add that coming out with a solution like this, like we are doing sequencing daily, and we are seeing that some areas like Jaipur, there we are getting large, very high positivity for Omicron, but other districts, they are not coming out, not yet they have the Omicron. So it would be really useful if you have a profile like where Omicron is spreading fast and which areas are still not touched with Omicron. So that will, I think, help the clinicians. That Dr. Ravi said that it is very important to know whether it is the Delta or the Omicron. And so that does indicate them how to be ready with which particular drug combination, whether the oxygen, the public health system has to be ready with the extra beds and with the oxygen. So that all they can plan better if they have that data. Because now with the so much of load of sequencing, we have we have come out back to the original strategy of sentinel testing, like some fixed amount per district, per lab, rather than testing all the positive cases, because the numbers are so huge. So in such a situation, a kit like this, which is just like a routine RT-PCR, and it provides results within 2 hours, like any other PCR. So a kit like Omnisure is a really welcome and the need of the day. And I think that will really help the public health authorities. It will help the clinicians, and will also tell us about the epidemiology, how things are moving in our community and in the hospitals. So I think that is the major advantage I see with the Omnisure kit, which has come up. And I'm sure as the virus evolves, the technology we have, you can always add on to the additional mutations which are developing to detect them. So that is a major advantage coming out with a kit like this. And the beautiful part is the SGMA, which is like we were only talking of SGTF, S gene target failure, but now we have the SGMA, which beautifully tells you that yes, it is there, it is not the target failure. You have the amplification, and then you know it is for sure that it is Omicron.
Thank you, Dr. Bharti. Dr. Jayanti, you want to add anything quickly before we open the question to the floor?
So another thing which I would like to also add is that genome sequencing is very expensive. It is not like a PCR test, and the availability of the kits. Currently, worldwide sequencing is being used so much, and we are heavily dependent on international agencies to supply our kits. So the supplies are also in short supply. So under the circumstances, I think there is a tremendous scope for something like Omnisure. And what I learned yesterday, and this happened in a national level meeting, where they were discussing Omnisure, and they asked the question whether it is positive in BA2. Now that, as we know, Omicron is BA1, BA2, BA3. So what we realized was parts of India are having more of BA2 and parts of India are having more of BA1. So the question posed was, is Omnisure detecting BA2? And the answer to that, the evaluators were there and they said yes. And this actually was so reassuring that we are not going to miss it. A variant PCR identification in the current wave or in any waves to come is a very good solution. And it is for a clinician, I have always discussed the necessity of any diagnostic test with a clinician. And the clinician really wants to know because he wants to give monoclonal antibodies. So under the circumstances, when this wave is going on, we are all looking forward to a good solution, cost-effective, I would say made in India solution for identification of variants.
Thank you, Dr. Shastri. Dr. Gaur, anything else you want to add?
Yes, I think one quick line, not much because all have been said. But I think, first I'll start with this, like the Omnisure to reassure. That's something which is, it's there. We definitely, I think, are getting reassured about it. Like, look, we have reached, and the concerns are being addressed. I think in view of the potential threats from the newer emerging variants, it becomes, our concerns for variants becomes all the more important. I think the need here today, I'll say I come from diagnostic industry, probably because, and various parts of the country, because it's like various geographies, east, west, north, south, because I have a background of oncology and we did a lot of things in the personalized medicine space, where we probably find the genetic variation, environmental changes, lifestyle, the culture and the practices. Probably what is good in east doesn't work in west, what is good in west doesn't work in south. Probably there is some kind of you have to have a companion diagnose, something which is actually validated cross kind of thing. So here my request here is Dr. Ravi, because and all you have Dr. Jayanti and Dr. Bharti, probably the various diagnostic providers across India and academic people, researchers, devices, and manufacturer people. It's very important to have a larger consortium and the representative put together. I think all of them, I'll be very happy to even contribute to things and probably will come out with the solution which will help the the country going forward, not only to handle this the COVID pandemic, probably the future pandemic approach can be very well defined from the day one. And once we have technologies, we are well prepared. This we will not be, the unprepared and the what Dr. Ravi started with the, the virus surprises us. Next time, if such virus, we will surprise the virus. We are ready. Get lost.
Thank you, Dr. Gaur. Now, I see questions in the chat box. Many of them are related to Omishore kit. So, if the people who put the questions can wait, they will definitely be answered. And there is one, most of them are technical aspects of Omishore and availability of Omishore and the time it takes for Omishore. Bear with us. We will get all your questions answered. I promise you on that. With this, let me go on. I just scanned the questions once. When will the kit be available? That will be presented. Which kind of sequence mutations are targeted? That also will be talked about. Then can you share the international approvals? That will be talked about. Which diagnostic tests are further required in case of Omicron positive? That will be answered. And of course, some of them are telling that it's a welcome gesture. Thank you, panelists, for your great inputs, your answers. Your experience speaks for itself, the way you articulated and in a short time gave very lucid answers. I'm very thankful to you. Back to the organizers.
Omishore to reassure. So wisely said, sir, and we totally agree. Thank you, Dr. Ravi, and thank you to all our eminent panelists for such a thought-provoking and such an informative discussion. Thank you so much. Now, I'd like to request Sachin to take over the question answer round. Onward to you, Sachin.
Dr. Sawant. Well, as Dr. Ravi has already mentioned that, we will try to take questions that are pertaining to variant identification and other aspects. So we will take Omishore specific questions later on. So to the panelists, I think there is an important question that has come from Mr. Ravindra Sawant. He's asking, are we expecting the new evolving variants to be less virulent? When do you label a mutation or change in sequencing as a new variant? And when do we start reporting a new variant as a variant of concern? And are all new variants detected notifiable?
Dr. Shastri, you want to take that and others can add on?
Yeah. So I would like to share with you that we have a Indian consortium, that is the INSACOG, which meets every week. So we share our data of sequencing across India, and it is actually very vigilant about emerging variants. Now, even in the delta derivatives, we have certain derivatives which are overrepresented from different parts of the country. So when there is a discussion and we see that these variations in the virus are impacting either the clinical disease, or it is impacting transmissibility, or it is impacting, it has a functional advantage. That is when the WHO assigns it a variant of concern, because it is of see, in the case of Omicron, what's happened is the S1, S2 fusion cleavage. There are a couple of mutations there. That is the reason the transmissibility is more. Then there are 36 mutations in the S gene, and especially in the receptor binding. So the antibody availability and antibody neutralization is affected. So when there is a functional advantage of the virus, then it is a variant of concern. However, genome sequencing is being used on sentinel samples to watch any new emerging variants and how they impact transmission, disease, and outcomes.
Thank you, Dr. Shastri. Dr. Bhartiya, Dr. Gauri, want to add anything?
So just want to say that WHO keeps a tab on what's happening. So they do remove those certain variants out of that list also. Like once you are finding that those lineages are not present anymore in our samples, So that is removed from the variant of. So this list is dynamic. It is not static. So they keep observing what is happening in the community in different parts of the world, and that is how they decide on this list. So they even have variants where they want to monitor. Certain variants are of concern, and so accordingly, these list keeps changing over the period of time as things happen.
Thank you. Dr. Gaur?
I think rightly everything has been said, but I think I'll probably say, because it's very, very important to, maybe even the variants may not be of concern as we move forward because we have developed our protocols and other things. But to understand the nature of the evolution, how it is moving ahead, and how is the journey, probably how does virus behave, and how does, they're going to behave step one. The way it's for like step Delta was okay, very heavy. Now Omicron has come. Next, we don't know, is uncertain. So probably this kind of it's really important to know the variants as we move forward. Maybe they are of no concerns to us, probably from the research point of view, or maybe from the vaccine development point of view, because they're going to create any virus which may not be a concern today. It can mutate again and become a concern. So I think it is important that the process should continue. And from public health point of view and from diagnostic point of view, I think it's the entire process will be more simplified, and I'm sure that with the Omishore and other things, I think getting more simplified and easier, and that will going forward help all of us. So probably this understanding of variants is important from the wholesome aspect of the health providers.
Thank you very much. Sachin?
Thank you, panelists. There are a couple of questions on ICMR recommendation. So there is a question from Dr. John Sirkar. He's asking, is the ICMR recommendation of not testing asymptomatic patients justified? Don't asymptomatic COVID-19 patients aid in virus transmission? And I'll just add another question to it, which is that are sequencing centers sequencing every positive sample today?
Dr. Jayanti?
Well, it is not possible to sequence all positive samples. So initially, to start with, in the Sentinel samples, we had 5%. When the numbers increased, we took a representative sample from different parts of the city and various districts in the state. And that's how the Sentinel sampling was done. And now the focus is on hospital samples and deaths in COVID patients. So this is what is the national strategy now, to look at the hospitalized severe patients and moderately severe and sequence them. And as regarding asymptomatic, Bharti, would you like to take that question?
The testing was initially, the plan of the testing and tracing and tracking was so that the infection doesn't spread. Now the scenario has changed. When the virus was new 2 years ago, like in early 20s, it was totally new, and it was we did not know much about the virus, and there was a risk. So at that time, we were really aggressively testing and tracing and tracking each and every case and their contacts and symptomatics, and as well as asymptomatics. So the guideline at that time was any contacts, whether symptomatic or not, should be tested once, and then again after 1 week, and again after 2 weeks time. So now with this current scenario, we know that this Omicron is spreading very fast, and it is people are getting recovered within few days time. Like CDC has come out with the guideline that after 5 days you can come back to duty. You need not test again. So because this is all because of the shorter incubation period and the quick recovery time, and also of the milder nature in the disease, that these guidelines have come up. So similarly, our guidelines have been revised accordingly. You have to see what is the immune status of your population, how the virus has been behaving. So that is why they have come out. There is no need to spread the scare about this. Initially it was, everybody was scared, so no doubt we were testing all positive cases. Now that we know that Omicron is there and it is milder, and many asymptomatics will also have it, but then they are not going to develop much serious disease. That is why these new guidelines have come. So these are again dynamic guidelines. You have to see how the virus is behaving and how the population is reacting, and reaction of the population is all lot dependent on your immune status. So that is how the guidelines have changed.
Thank you, Dr. Bharti. Dr. Gaur, anything you want to add? Or
I think say because the what Dr. Bharti rightly said, because these are dynamic today, that these are the guidelines, because we know day one. I think when the first wave came, first time in way back in from the China, and the first time COVID came to India, we were not really know how to behave. Now probably we know every day, day one, day two, day three, day four, how to behave. So it's very, and then how severe will be, in which people with the comorbidity, younger people, senior people are younger. All this is going to be, I think we are fairly reached now to understand the behavior of the virus very well. So I think the ICMR probably must have been, talk about whether to do asymptomatic or symptomatic or not. That's probably a decision by the public health point of view. And gradually, I'm sure with this decision, they're also tracking on a day-to-day basis. The moment I think there's something else happen, they might reverse back or they might change the things. That's what I'd like to add here.
Thank you very much. Sachin, I think we are almost run out of time. Unless there are pressing questions, let's hand it back to the organizers.
Yes, Dr. Ravi, I think we can hand it back to the organizers for the next session.
Thank you so much, Sachin. Thank you once again to all our panelists and viewers for being with us through this session. Now, let's move on to our another interesting session, which is on the science behind the Tata MD check OmniSure by our guest, Dr. V. Ravi. Now, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Can somebody give me the sharing option, please? It says I can't share. Thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak on work that we did at Tata MD. My screen sharing. Thank you. Is my screen visible? Can somebody confirm?
Yes, Dr. Ravi.
Visible.
Okay. Tata Medical and Diagnostics had the opportunity to look at developing a test for Omicron. And when the variant was announced on November 26th by WHO, within few days, we got together and said, what can we do for this? And the answer from everybody was, we should find a simple test that can be an alternative to gene sequencing. So that was the thought that we had, and we set about to achieve something little small, not great, but I will tell you the science behind that particular diagnostic test called OmniSure. It's an RT-PCR. The panelists have beautifully told you that variants will keep emerging. When will the next one come? I'm not an astrologer, and I can tell you that the honest answer is I do not know if there will be another variant or not. And the panelists also very nicely told you about how they are classified: variants of concern, those that impact transmission, immune escape, and severity of disease; variant of interest, which has limited geographic circulation and probably some impact on diagnostic tests; and variants of consequence. Now, we all know that there have been 4 variants before Omicron. And as I said, Omicron was announced as a variant of concern by WHO on November 26th, and we started our efforts. The idea of sharing the science behind is the following. First, whether we can develop a diagnostic test was a question in our mind. Second, can we develop a platform technology which in future will be able to quickly put a diagnostic test in place? Omicron thought occurred on around the end of November to us. We started bioinformatics exercise, looking at the sequences of Omicron in the database, pulling them down, and then identifying regions where we can design primers and probes to develop a PCR. And we also knew at that time there was already a target failure test. We said, what if the virus mutates further? Can we have an Omicron specific mutation detection probe also. So we decided to combine two. We synthesized primers. We used some unique proprietary methods of synthesizing primers. Primers and probes. Primers, some of them companies offer in India, but good quality primers and probes with certain dyes, especially Sci-Fi and Texas Red, which we have used. We have used 4 dyes, FAM, Tex, Sci-Fi, and Texas Red. You have to rely on international suppliers and their proprietary items, and they take 15 days to 3 weeks. So when we ordered the primers in the end of first week, we got it by around 20th. That is the fastest we could get. And then we did not have Omicron samples. So we had to devise an assay. So while the primers and probes were coming, we requested a company to synthesize the entire spike protein gene of Omicron with all its mutations. Now that brings us to the question, what are the mutations? Now this is Omicron genome. You can see there are a number of mutations, more than 50 odd mutations, 56, 57. It's evolving continuously, it's dynamic. But look at where the maximum mutations are. It's in the spike protein. And you can see there were almost 36 mutations in the spike protein. So we said, okay, let's take spike protein because it has maximum mutations. Remember that it is also a challenge because that is the region that is continuously mutating. So we made a synthetic spike protein gene. And that gene we used as a positive control. And with our primers and probes, we were excited to find it's picking up both gene dropout and this mutation specific to Omicron. I want to make 2 points here. One, the S gene dropout that we have designed is not in the 69, 70 deletion of amino acids that most other kits use. We have identified an entirely different region in the spike protein, and we continuously do what is known as variant watching. There are members in my team, every morning they download sequences from GISAID and they look at the sequences and see if our primers and probes are useful against all of them or not. Touch wood. They have been so far, whatever we are using seems to be present in all variants, all Omicron sequences, including BA1, BA2, BA3. I am unfortunately constrained not to reveal the exact sequence because a patent has been filed, and that patent we filed on 23rd. 20th, we did the assay with the synthetic gene. After repeated assays, we were confident our approach will work. And then we filed application for a patent. And then by 26th, within 1 month after the variant was announced, we submitted the kit to ICMR and explained to them that this is a kit with 2 strategies. ICMR was very, very kind to us, sent it to NIV. NIV took it up on priority. So we are grateful to ICMR for the partnership that we have with them. We have an MOU with ICMR, and that MOU says very clearly that products we develop will be joined. And so this product was joined, and the results came on 30th, and we were pleasantly surprised, and I'll share the results. So basically, this technology, this platform is to look at sequences, identify mutations, and see whether we can amplify them and detect them. That is the detection part. Or we can try to amplify a region which is mutated, and then that is the dropout strategy. Apart from this, of course, we kept a conserved region of RDRP. And this RDRP region that we are amplifying is conserved in alpha, beta, gamma, delta, almost all the other variants also, including delta and delta-like variants and some of the other variants of interest as well. So it's a highly conserved region so that we can pick up other variants as well. But remember, you cannot have an ideal assay which can tell you it is alpha, beta, gamma, delta, X, Y, Z. you will need large number of fluorescent channels. Unfortunately, we don't have so many. With the available 4-channel, because that is the widely used platform in India, so we designed an assay for it. This has been explained. The current strategy that is used for Omicron is COVID testing. Samples with CT values less than 30 go for gene sequencing. And an alternative screening method is to look for S gene target failure. This whole process on the left takes approximately 5 to 7 days. And we have developed a kit which actually gives you the answers within 4 to 24 hours. That's the outermost limit. Actual runtime for the test, my colleague Pulkit will explain how long it takes. And we have 2 strategies. Let me explain in the form of a figure. Now, one way is a dropout strategy to design primers and probes in the region heavily mutated. When you add this, there won't be amplification. And even if there is amplification, the probe will not bind. As a result, you will get a negative signal. This is some of the kits have this prior to Omissure development. I won't name. You all know what I'm talking about, SGTF target failure assays. There are a few kits in the last 2-3 weeks that have come, which use the mutation-specific amplification and probe to detect Omicron positively. One is a negative strategy, a target failure, other is a positive strategy. Combining both, we felt our chances of detecting will be higher. So we call this kit SURE. We thought it's a sure shot identification. This slide actually shows how the other kits which use one of these 2 strategies can sometimes fail, because even Omicron is continuously evolving and it can regain lost mutations or deletions, or it can change its fresh mutations. So if you use only one of the 2 strategies, you can have a chance of failure. Now, this interpretation of the test is shown in this slide. We do a PCR with 4 targets. One is the S gene target failure. There, if that gene is not amplified, basically if you get a negative result, and then you also get a mutation-specific amplification as positive, so minus, plus, and then of course, RDRP also comes positive, then it is confirmed Omicron. How do I say it? Just hold on in a minute, I will show you the data from ICMR. The other way is where SGTF is amplified, there is no target failure, and RDRP comes. Then we call it SARS-CoV-2 detected, but Omicron not present. If SGTF, SGMA, and RDRP, all 3 are negative, that means no target failure, no mutation-specific amplification, and then we call it SARS-CoV-2 not detected, because RDRP is also negative. So this is a SARS-CoV-2 negative sample. So an assay which will tell you whether SARS-CoV-2 positive or negative. If it is positive in the same tube, you can read out whether it's Omicron or it is not Omicron. So this is the interpretation tables. What I exactly told you, minus plus is, it tells you very clearly that it indicates the presence of Omicron. Target is not failed. Specific mutation amplification is negative. RDRP is positive. It is SARS-CoV-2. Very rarely you can get a combination of target failure negative and specific mutation negative, and RDRP is positive. Now that is SARS-CoV-2. Here are the results of the ICMR performance. ICMR used the National Institute of Virology. We are very, very grateful. Used 84 SARS-CoV-2 negative samples. All of them were negative in our PCR. And it used 88 SARS-CoV-2 positive samples. 40 were sequence confirmed Omicron. 35 samples were S gene dropout, and 5 were S gene detected. Our kit identified all 40 samples with 100% concordance. 35 were Delta variants. In all these Delta variants, the target failure was not there. RDRP was positive. and internal control was positive, 100% concordance. They also included 13 other variants, and these included alpha, beta, and gamma. One of the samples that was SARS-CoV-2 positive with them, and our interpretation was probable positive Omicron, because we had only internal control and RDRP positive. That means S gene target failure was there, but mutation-specific amplification was negative. Since we had said this is probable Omicron and not put an asterisk there saying it needs genetic confirmation, we lost 0.75% in specificity, 100% sensitive, and 99.25% specific for Omicron identification. As far as SARS-CoV-2 overall goes, it is 100% sensitive and 100% specific. I'll stop here only to tell you that we have a variant detection PCR platform. Next time around, God forbid, if a variant emerges, we should not be taking 4 weeks. We should take much less time. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present our science behind Omicron. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was such an enlightening session on Omicron. I truly believe all the viewers have gained so much from this session. Now, let us move on to the third and the last session for today, which is on the product review of Tata MD Check Omicron. For this session, please let me invite Mr. Pulkit Kheria from Product Management Team of Tata MD. We welcome you, Mr. Pulkit, and onward to you now.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwari and the organizers. I am not able to start my video. If the organizers can give permission to start the video, please. Okay. And just give me a minute to share my screen. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Dr. Ravi, and all our panelists for such an insightful discussion so far. And thank you to the audience for taking time to be a part of this discussion. My name is Pulkit Kheria. I am part of the product management team at Tata MD. And over the next 8 to 10 minutes, we would like to spend some time talking to you about Omicron as a product, how it fits in our broader product portfolio, and the philosophy of our company, and what impact we hope together we can have with Omicron on the coming Omicron wave. Very briefly about Tata MD. Tata Medical and Diagnostics, or Tata MD as we call it in short, is a part of the Tata Group. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of Tata Sons. We very humbly aspire to make healthcare more accessible and affordable. And we see affordable diagnostics, accessible diagnostics play a big part in that journey. And that is why we have started our journey by focusing on that space along with other medical devices and medical products. The company started during COVID, so we took COVID as our first challenge, and we have tried to play our part in the pandemic by introducing innovative diagnostic assays across CRISPR, RT-PCR, and antigen assays. Our aspiration, our goal, and our execution is very much on the way for us to become a top diagnostic and medical products company in the country and in the world. And over the coming months, you will see us come out with products that span molecular diagnostics, immunoclinical, hematology, and other key segments, both for COVID and beyond. Just a very brief summary of our current RT-PCR portfolio, and then we will switch back to Omicron and all the details about the Omicron product. We have a comprehensive line of RT-PCR products. First two that you see on the left is our Express PCR range of products that are expressly designed for scalable, fast TAT COVID testing. The XF solution is a solution that is a kit combined with our proprietary Express PCR fast analyzers. It enables labs to test 30 samples at one go in less than an hour with gold standard accuracy, no extraction involved, same qPCR workflow, but everything end-to-end gets over in 60 minutes. For labs that are looking to reduce stat and improve capacity in the time of the current pandemic wave, our fast 3-gene assay cuts down the amplification time post-RNA extraction to 45 minutes, thereby increasing capacity and reducing turnaround time. For labs that prefer a more conventional workflow with RNA extraction, we have our 2-gene and 3-gene kits, very reliable kits, less than 90-minute amplification post-RNA extraction, absolutely the highest sensitivity. And then we also market a product where extraction-free 85-minute amplification can be used for increasing capacity in a very cost-effective manner. To this portfolio, which already has many first-in-market innovations, we are very happy to introduce Omisure, and many thanks to a lot of people at the background, our R&D, our production, regulatory teams, etc., who've come up with this wonderful innovation where we can do direct and specific Omicron identification in a qRT-PCR lab. So a quick overview of the product. It is ICMR approved and CE-IVD approved, so it meets the highest international quality standards. Dr. Ravi already explained in detail about the unique dual S design where we have 2 Omicron-specific S-gene targets, the SGTF, of course, and the S-gene mutation amplification or the SGMA target. This is the only assay in the world that combines SGTF and SGMA in this fashion, and which is what gives it the ability to distinguish Omicron from all other variants of SARS-CoV-2 virus. At the same time, it offers gold standard sensitivity, 100% and specificity in detecting SARS-CoV-2 more broadly. So here you have in one package the ability not just to very reliably detect SARS-CoV-2, but at the same time identify whether the sample is an Omicron sample or not. Everything is achieved in a single tube, fully multiplexed assay. We'll go into a little bit more detail about the workflow. It is a standard qPCR workflow like you do in your lab. It is compatible with all the commonly used 4+ channel qPCR platforms that are available out there. We've designed this kit for maximum compatibility with existing infrastructure. Dr. Ravi had mentioned the channels earlier. So as long as a machine is able to read output that is generated in the FAM, the HEX, the Sci5, and the Texas Red channels, this kit will work in those qPCR machines, which also includes our Tata MD Express PCR analyzers. Just a very quick overview of the workflow. It starts with a nasopharyngeal or oropharyngeal swab in VTM, subjected to RNA extraction by any of the methods that are used today, amplified with the help of the Omisure reaction mix. The whole amplification reaction takes 85 minutes, give or take. In our Express PCR analyzer, it can run even faster. And then finally, the result interpretation is done in the way that we do qPCR curve interpretation today. Also very quickly, I want to hit upon the fact that just like a standard qPCR kit, the storage is at -20 degrees. Shelf life, currently, because we've applied for, the data that we had at the time of application was only for 12 months in our accelerated studies, but we expect that like other qPCR assays, it will have a shelf life of 12 to 24 months. Why is this important? What impact, as some of our panelists covered so elegantly, knowing Omicron and other variants that are spreading so quickly, knowing in 5-6 days, we might have missed the bus. Here we have the ability to know very, very quickly, very cost effectively, whether a new variant is spreading in a locality, and accordingly, the authorities can take spread control measures. For individuals, especially travelers who might be isolating, might be under a lot of uncertainty, knowing whether they've brought a new variant or not, this offers much quicker answers. Clinicians can while the clinical pathway or the care will not, let's say, differ for Omicron versus other, but definitely the intensity of treatment and the risk of severity, as is well known now, is different for Omicron and for other variants. So knowing that can be helpful to the clinicians so that they can take better care of their patients. And of course, the patients themselves can have peace of mind by knowing that it is Omicron and not one of the more serious variants. And if it is Omicron, they can take strict isolation measures, albeit for a shorter period of time, so that they can protect their family members. More broadly, just taking a step back, as Dr. Ravi had articulated, our aspiration is that we fundamentally change how variant detection, variant surveillance happens. And this is a platform technology that we are able to extend to, God forbid, if there are more variants in this pandemic or future pandemics. Just to very quickly summarize here, Omishore is a specific Omicron detection assay for QRT-PCR labs. The entire process post-sample collection can be finished in 2.5 hours. You don't need any further confirmation for Omicron or for SARS-CoV-2. The results of this assay are confirmed results as confirmed by ICMR. Is the same qPCR workflow, no changes to what you have been following today. In fact, if you've been using one of our 3 gene kits, the protocol is absolutely the same, which is another endeavor of how we develop our portfolio. And then finally, I just want to quickly hit upon, though this is not the forum, it's highly cost effective. The price is already available publicly. Each test is only 250 rupees, which is much less than sequencing or the dual testing strategy of in RT-PCR plus an SGTF assay. We are committed to making this very accessible and available. So, our sales teams, our business development teams will be very happy to work with you on how to find the way to make this assay most affordable. With that, I would just like to finally, closing words, we thank the government of Odisha for leading the way. They've already confirmed an order, and we hope that we can work with all of you in the diagnostic industry and make Omishore an impactful technology for the coming pandemic. Thank you. With that, I'd hand it back to the organizers and Dr. Ravi and others. We can take some questions, please.
Thank you, Mr. Pulkit, for such an insightful and detailed presentation on Omishore. Now, I'd like to request Mr. Sachin to please take over the last question answer round. Onward to you, Mr. Sachin.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pulkit. Pulkit and Dr. Ravi, I do see a lot of questions specifically on SGMA. I know that you both have covered it in your sessions, but if you could elaborate further in terms of how does it work, and specifically in terms of confirming Omicron variant, that would be very helpful.
Thank you, Sachin. As I said, the Omicron specific mutation primers and probes are in an area that so far is conserved. We continuously blast our primers and probes against the global database every day. As of now, the SGMA has the primers and probes of the SGMA we have designed has about 95% hit rate, which means in 5% there's a chance it can miss. And when we went back and analyzed these 5% sequences, most of them, the sequence was not available in the S gene. The nucleotide was represented as NNN. We do not know whether it is impacted in that 5%, but the good news is 95% it's not impacted. Having said that, in the last few days, we have developed another probe and another primer set, which we are keeping as a backup. In case we start seeing target failures, we will quickly replace, and we are getting that ready, and we may go for another round of evaluation with the new set of mutation-specific primers and probes. Over.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. Pulkit, there are some specific questions in terms of if, on the turnaround time for the test analysis and if an RNA extraction procedure is needed for Omnisure.
Sure. I will reiterate, yes, an RNA extraction procedure is required. The assay is designed to work with nasopharyngeal and oropharyngeal specimens collected in VTM that have then been subjected to an RNA extraction process. With regards to turnaround time, the amplification time, as we mentioned, in most devices would be in the range of 80 to 85 minutes. It's a 40 cycle protocol. In some devices such as TATA-MD Express PCR, which have been specifically designed for faster turnaround time, we could see another 10 to 15 minutes savings in the amplification time. So net, if you add everything together, by the time that you receive the samples in a lab, a batch of 96 can be fully processed probably in 2.5 hours to 3 hours. And that is why in the presentation we had mentioned that 4 to 24 hours, as Dr. Ravi has also mentioned, is the higher end of what is the turnaround time that is possible with Omnisure.
Thank you, Pulkit. Dr. Ravi, there is a specific question on on if Omnisure is good and accurate for gene pool to patients outside India. And you have already given a lot of insights in terms of what is going to be the time and effort savings using Omnisure versus gene sequencing. So if you could just give a short answer on...
From the way Sachin, from the way I understand the question, will this kit work all over the globe? I'm putting it in a different way. We believe so because bioinformatic exercises in silico analysis, as I told you, today there are over 130,000 Omicron sequences in the global database. 95% we are getting hit rate for SGMA and slightly higher for SGTF because our SGTF is in a very conserved region of Omicron. So I believe it will work. We are in the process of trying to get FDA emergency use authorization. But there are so many things happening and it's such a short time. It's a huge challenge in itself. And I must tell that I'm sorry I failed to acknowledge the efforts of all the team members at TATA-MD, especially my R&D group, Dr. Sunil, Dr. Satyaprakash Pandey, Dr. Azhar, Revati, Dr. Archana, Harini, Srimati, and Sudarshan. All of them worked very hard, and so also our quality assurance team, Dr. Pramod and his team, and Pulkit, who has been very, very active in product placement, the sales, and most importantly, our CEO, Mr. Girish Krishnamurthy, and our CFO, Vijay.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. So we will take just 2 more questions. There is a question specifically from a common man's perspective that what would be the value for him to get to know that, whether he's an Omnisure. I think it has been covered very well in multiple times, but if you can just reiterate it. And also, do you think that diagnostic labs can also start, a new kind of a test where they also confirm, give a confirmation whether the person is Omicron infected or not?
Right. So I can share from some first-hand experience. Actually, I got infected last week, and my parents are actually currently infected with COVID. And to be honest, and we have many doctors in our family. My uncle, we consult him, and he said, "Agar Omicron hai, to zyada dikkat ki baat nahi hai." I don't want to comment on clinical judgment, etc., but that is how he told us from a very layman patient perspective. He said, "वैसे ज़्यादा दिक्कत की बात नहीं है, अगर ओमिक्रॉन होगा तो जनरली माइल्ड ही होता है. हाँ, बस ये है कि ध्यान रखो, आइसोलेशन अच्छे से रखो, by a younger brother, कि उसको नहीं हो जाए." So that is the value of knowing whether you are infected with Omicron or not. Also, while this is not as important to a common man as an individual, but collectively the government and our authorities can benefit a lot from knowing that how many people are Omicron infected versus other variants. And in that sense, we will all benefit if the government is able to better understand the spread of the variant. So both from an individual perspective and from a collective responsibility to society, we do believe that it adds value.
I will just add something to what Pulkit said, and that is what the value I see is if somebody does Omicron uses the kit and finds it is not Omicron, it is other SARS-CoV-2, I think that specimen would be valuable, a proportion of it to be taken for gene sequencing. Because you remember all the panelists said, you have to watch for variants. If this test gives reliable results for Omicron, and if it is not Omicron, I believe those samples should be prioritized for sequencing. That's my opinion. Thank you.
I'll add a few seconds, Dr. Ravi, on this layman's answer. I think, the very important thing is when there's a fear of getting this infection, new variant, something like it actually using Omicron, probably I'll understand the variant. From Omicron, it'll become Omicron. It's like, it's Omicron, forget it. No, that fear will go away. And I think definitely that's needed. So that's what I would add here.
Thank you, Dr. Gaur. So there are multiple questions on...
Sachin, sorry, I'll just make sure I address the second part of the question we do. That's also important. So yes, labs can themselves issue reports which says SARS-CoV detected, Omicron not present or not detected, or SARS-CoV-2 detected, Omicron present. The ICMR portal will very soon be updated where there will be an additional field. When you test with Omicron, along with SARS-CoV detected or not, you can mention whether Omicron detected or not. And the labs themselves don't need any other validation or certification, etc. Any lab that is running NABL validated, running qRT-PCR for COVID detection today can use the Omicron kit also.
Thank you, Pulkit. There are multiple questions on the compatible thermocyclers. I'll reinforce that it is compatible with majority of the thermocyclers. Pulkit, if you can just add to that.
Sure. Terezo had also covered it. I will just reiterate again. So since it's a 3-gene plus internal control assay, a minimum of 4 detection channels are required. The actual fluorophores that we have used technically are for the FAM, the HEX, the Sci5, and the Texas Red detection channels. If instead of the HEX channel you have a VIC, that would also work. If instead of Texas Red you have a ROX, that would also work. So in that sense, that it's a 20 microliter assay, so it will be widely compatible. Those are, hopefully that gives a good sense. The assay has been designed for openness. Of course, it has been validated on 4 or 5 platforms in the R&D lab. Further in the field, it can be further validated and used, but we don't see any reason of why it would not work. So you'd like to add anything, Dr. Ravi?
No, I think you summarized very well. Obviously, there are 20-30 brands of PCR machines out there, and you cannot expect us to validate on everything. But the most commonly used machines we have validated, and it works on all of them. There are some questions, Sachin. Quickly, I will finish in rapid fire. When will the kits be available? Certainly we are hoping by 20th onwards, kits will be available freely. We started production. I'm sitting in the factory now. We started production. It has to go through a series of quality assurance steps. And it took time for us to start production because the probes, especially Sci5 and Texas Red probes, have to be imported from abroad. Companies were closed for Christmas and New Year. They opened up, and once they open up, they require a minimum lead time of 7 to 9 days, and then the shipping time. And then once it arrives, we need to check those primers probes, make the assay, run it with a panel of samples. Once it passes QA, only then we will be able to release. We target from 20th January onwards to produce 200,000 tests per day. And before up to 20th, we have received reagents for about 2 lakh tests. And these we are prioritizing for the people who already placed orders. And one last question was on the chat I saw, does it include RNA extraction cost? The answer is no. The cost that Pulkit mentioned of 250 rupees is the price to the laboratory, plus there will be whatever applicable taxes.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. And just to answer a lot of questions on distribution strategy and how to order, well, you can send send us a mail at inquiry@tatamd.com, and we will very quickly reply to you. It is available through multiple dealerships throughout India, and also we are supplying. We'll be supplying directly to the labs. So we are just a mail away. With this, I will conclude this Q&A session. Thank you to all the panelists, Dr. Ravi and Pulkit. And I hand over to Dr. Sawant.
Thank you, Sachin. With that, we come to the end of question answer session. Once again, thank you to all our eminent panelists. Thank you to our viewers for staying with us through this session. I hope the sessions were informative. We greatly value your time. With that, we come to the end. We are going to sign off. Stay happy, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.